order of operations, but with decimal numbers. So we follow our order of operations parentheses. Remember, that means when there's something to do in the parentheses. This just has a 1.8, so there's nothing to do there. Then exponents, no exponents. Multiply or divide starting at the left where we have subtraction, but then right here is multiplication. Now, ideally you have a calculator, but let me show you how to do this if you don't have a calculator. You multiply the 8 times 5, that's 40, 0 there, carry the 4. 8 times 6 is 48, and add the 4, so that would give you 52. Now you're going to go to the 1, so put a 0 here because you're not having a number there, and do 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 6 is 6, add up the columns, and then count your decimal places, 1, 2, so that means you should have 2 places there. So this is really 5.7 minus 11.7. Now you have to be careful. The signs are different, so you know you're subtracting. But when you subtract and you're not using a calculator, make sure the larger number, the 11.7, is first, and then subtract from it the 5.7. Line them up. Because what will happen a lot of times, you'll think you're lining them up, but you'll subtract one way for the decimal part and another way for the other, and it gives you the wrong answer. So line up, when you add and subtract decimals, line them up. Notice here when we were multiplying, we didn't have to line them up. So 7 minus 7 is 0. 11 minus 5 is 6. Now right here you want to be careful because you'll get in a hurry and you'll just put 6. But notice the 11.7, which is the larger number, the sign in front of it is a negative. So this answer is actually negative 6. Here's an example of what I mean by if you try to do the decimals in your head, if you're not very careful. The wrong way, if you look at this in red, 8.6 minus 4.9. What happens sometimes, people say, oh, those are small numbers. I can do it in my head. I'm subtracting, so that's going to give me a 0.3 because 9 minus 6 is 3. And then 8 minus 4, that's 4. But notice I subtracted 9 minus 6, the right number minus the left number, but then when I did the whole number, I did the left number first and then the right number. So if I were to check this, 4.9 plus 4.3 would have to add together to give me 8.6, and it doesn't. So the correct way is figure out which number is your larger number, and that goes on the top. Then put your other number, the smaller number, and subtract that way. So you can see here, 6 minus 9 we can't do, so we have to borrow from the 8. It becomes 7, and this becomes 16 now. So 16 minus 9 is 7, and 7 minus 4 is 3. And 8 is bigger, sign in front of it's a positive, so that's an answer of 3.7. And notice, if you add these two back together, 9 plus 7 is 16, carry the 1, that goes back to 8.6. Like over here, if you were to add these two together, they go back to the 11.7. So be careful. Sometimes it's good to do things in your head, but when it comes to decimals, I always double check everything.